Just got done with seeing my primary care physician. It went well, which is always fantastic. And now we're just waiting for some lab work. Been having a lot of pain though in my left leg today, and the swelling now is also in the back of the leg, so we're rechecking some muscle enzymes and other stuff. And then we're talking about that my jerking episodes could be seizures, so we definitely need a good neurologist on the case. See you guys later. Hi guys, I hope you're having a fabulous day. Today is Saturday, February 8th. I did get some lab results from the PCP, which is the clip that you just watched. D came back low again. Also, though, this time protein came back low, and so did calcium. So I am a little bit concerned about the vitamin levels dropping, and I do intend on sending a message to my gastro again, because the last time I sent him a message about my vitamin levels being low, he told me to eat, which doesn't make sense because I have gastroparesis and I am eating, first of all. Second of all, I can't make my intestines absorb. Just doesn't work. So we're going to be having a conversation about that again. I have other stuff to say on that, but let me try to do the... My rheumatologist is still working on getting me vitamin D to put in my saline bags because I don't really have many other options at this point. So I need to email her and kind of check back up on that again and see where we stand. I know I have issues sometimes with home health care in general. So hopefully we're making progress with that. And then like the swollen leg has been a little bit more of an issue recently. Again, I mean, it goes through periods where it's easier to deal with the pain, and then other days it's impossible to deal with. So it has been swelling between 3 centimeters bigger than my normal leg, all the way up to 8 centimeters, which to me is kind of a big deal. And then with everything else that had kind of went on with my birthday and the bleeding and the movement disorder stuff, and the amount of pain in the leg, we were just getting really uncomfortable again and wanted to kind of rule out a blood clot. So I did end up going to the ER last Sunday, and we did rule out a blood clot again. The physician did say it was swollen, and they really think that I'm extremely sick and somebody needs to do something sooner than later, but that's kind of the verdict from everybody at this point in time. You're really sick, somebody should do something, and then nobody really does. So I also encountered an interesting tech there who was giving me her opinion that she felt the doctor was wrong. I'm not actually swollen. She didn't really understand what was wrong with me, and just kind of implying that I don't have chronic illness. And then like additionally, she had felt the need for whatever reason to let me know that I should not be on my current insurance and that I should be on a different insurance. And she had been really saying a lot of stuff that was out of line, and she did not even introduce herself when she walked into the room. So she's asking me all these very, very bizarre questions, and I knew she was not the doctor and she was not my nurse. I was like, who are you? And she was not happy that I did not know who she was. She's like, well, I introduced myself a few hours ago. I'm the tech. I'm entering your blood pressure in the system. It's like, okay then. So it was very, very strange. But you always run into at least one person who, you know, gives you a little bit of a hard time. So like I said, though, she's not the doctor or a nurse even. And if you are a doctor or nurse and you're being that rude, I'm not going to take your opinion that seriously anyways. Just how that works. but like I said, they were concerned. They did recommend that in addition to getting the neurology work up, which is March 4th, that I should also get worked up by a vascular doctor, which I agree with at this point. We kind of need to figure out what in the world is going on with the leg. The only thing I was really unhappy with the ER, besides the lovely tech, was the fact that the doctor did tell me if they had found anything other than a blood clot, they weren't going to really let me know. They weren't going to like check, okay, do I have an AVM or like something else going on? I have something called hereditary hemoglobin telangiectasia, which is a blood disorder. So my blood vessels are missing certain components, and you can form something called AVMs, which are kind of like knots in your blood vessels. So basically he was like, well, if you have AVMs, you need to like get an ultrasound done by a vascular doctor, and they need to look for an AVM. Like, if you have an AVM, we're not gonna even have the decency to tell you while you're here. So, I mean, obviously that's not something that you want to hear when you're in excruciating pain and you're looking for answers. But I've been having trouble off and on, really, walking on the leg and just getting around and stuff. It's been extremely painful. I did end up falling again earlier, so that's definitely not a good thing. I just think my legs are kind of giving out at times, unfortunately. So that was the ER trip. The labs came back. They did not really look for much, honestly. They ran basically like a CBC and maybe a metabolic panel and maybe one hepatitis panel, which I was a little bit confused with, but I feel like the hep panel was run because I have a history of high liver enzymes, so it's kind of like breaking down the different enzymes and all that stuff. So some of my white cells did come back elevated, which I've had a couple of times with the swollen leg. I forget the one level, but it's been elevated off and on since June. And then also my platelets are very high, which again, that doesn't really give us any answers, period. It doesn't even give us any direction. It just really confuses us more. I did send a message to my old nurse and told her about the levels that came back, and she's like, yeah, this just makes even less sense than before. So she's like, I'm just really confused. I was like, I've been confused the whole time. It only gets more confusing, unfortunately, at this rate. And then yesterday was Friday. I saw my POTS doctor, which is cardiology. He wasn't particularly helpful. He seemed very, kind of almost like annoyed that I was there, I felt like he didn't really want to be bothered. I was a little bit disappointed, to be quite frank, that he didn't really talk much about my infusions. He didn't really ask, how's home health care? How's your port? Nothing like that. I offered up information on my POTS. He didn't really ask about that, which I thought was strange. My blood pressure was still on the low side even while infusing when I was there. My heart rate's like so-so. He talked about adding more metoprolol, which is a tachycardia medicine, which slows down your heart, but at the same time, like I told him, my heart rate does go low. I'm not super comfortable with that, and the more he thought about it, especially how low my blood pressure came up, he was like, yeah, this is probably not a great idea. But I did talk to him about the vitamin D, because we were like, okay, he knows how to order stuff from home health care. Maybe he can offer some insight to rheumatology. He did not offer to talk to her. He was just like, well, I can prescribe you vitamin D pills. I was like, I felt like banging my head against the wall. I was like, I really appreciate that. However, we already tried pills. We went from pills to liquid, from liquid to patches. Now we're at the point that we're talking about putting it in my saline. He's like, well, can't help you there. So, it was a little bit frustrating for me, like the whole appointment in general. I don't really feel like it was super productive. It was kind of like, well, you have a pulse. Awesome. See you in 6 months. So that's all that was really accomplished. I didn't really expect like a ton to be accomplished, but a little bit more than that, especially because I have passed out several times since seeing him. I'm not even saying it's POTS related, but it's important information. I told him everything going on with neurology. didn't really seem fazed by it or concerned. I'm a little concerned with the symptoms, but so is my rheumatologist, but other people don't really seem concerned. He didn't really look at my leg at all. He's like, oh no, it's not related to your heart. Okay. So that was not helpful. I just figured, you know, if everybody looks at the leg, examines it, and gives input, it would help, but you can't make doctors do what you think they should, unfortunately. And then I also did, though, have the conversation with him, which was helpful, about my Q interval with my heart. He said that there's absolutely no red flags. It is not extended or longer than it should be at this point in time. And my last echo, I had already been on domperidone, which was the medicine that helps me eat, for over 6 months. So if it was affecting my heart, we would have seen it. So far, my heart has not been affected. So again, it's a lot of praying, a lot of discussion, still a lot of research, and still trying to figure out, okay, with my abdomen, what are we doing? I'm able to at the moment eat and like stimulate some appetite, like have a little bit of an appetite. Like I don't feel like I'm gonna vomit all of the time, just sometimes. So I'm happy that I can eat, but at the same time, I'm not fully absorbing my pills. I'm not fully absorbing nutrients or food or anything else. So there's just a lot to think about with my stomach stuff still. So I feel like I was at the point that I was stable with my stomach, and now it's been thrown out the window again. So that is very frustrating. Alright guys, so this always runs a little bit longer than I anticipate. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all again soon.